So keeping with this theme that I told you guys I'm going to be harping on. So if you're getting bored with this, sorry. This is something that I definitely need to make a priority though. But keeping on the theme of getting accepted by music libraries with an unsolicited pitch, I want to talk today about how to get accepted by those larger companies that for the most part are not trying to accept music from you and I, from individual composers. And they might even have on their website, we do not accept unsolicited music submissions, right? You might see that actually on them. And I'm talking about the APM's Universal BMG, large production companies that also sort of have subsidiary catalogs that they represent. So it's not just their own music that they're putting out, but they also go and gobble up or help distribute other catalogs as well. These are the companies that for sure are very, I wouldn't say very difficult to get into, but I would say a lot of times if you want to get involved with them, you're not going to be able to go directly to them. So that's maybe where some of that myth comes out, where it's like, well, these libraries aren't going to accept me because the big ones don't have a submission portal, so therefore I can't get into them. So I get that if that's maybe where your assumption came. But did you know that how I got into at least some really big catalogs? So I've been in Megatracks, I've been in 5 Alarm Music, I've been in 615 Music, I've been in Position Music. So if you don't know, you've probably heard of some of those, or if not all of those, look them up. Really big companies, okay? I did not get into any of those directly, okay? So full disclosure there, I did not submit an unsolicited demo or music to those companies. What I did is I went and worked with a sort of production company or a catalog, whatever you want to call it. Is essentially it's a music library. They can have their own clients as well, but they also, what they do is they primarily just focus on gathering large numbers of highly qualified pieces of music and then partnering with a big company like a Position Music, Megatracks, that kind of thing, and allowing them through their big network, international network, get placements. So there's a lot of smaller mom and pop companies that basically operate this way. So that's how I got my music into those bigger companies. I went and worked with a kind of local mom and pop, usually a one-man operation, sent them music, got my consideration fees, kind of get my contracts with them, and then they took that music and got it distributed with a lot of these larger other companies, right? And so that's how I got a lot of really big deals in my career. Directly though, right? So I'm going directly to these subcatalogs and they are going to the big ones. So all you need to do if you want to work with one of these larger catalogs, you feel like that's where you want to go. I will explain maybe in this video also some cons to that. It's not always like the best place to go just because they're the biggest. But if that's really what you got your heart set on and that's what you want to do, and you want to do it on your own, go to those websites, go look at their catalogs, go look, because you'll see the labels, right? So it's not just maybe I should do an actual walkthrough on this now. I probably will do that in a future video, but you can do this yourself. You can literally go to Megatracks, I think it's megatracks.com, and go look at their labels, right? Labels are basically going to be all the subcatalogs that they represent. Many of those, if not all of them, you can maybe find contact info right there. Like there might be a website for them. And if not, find the name of it. If it's like the name of their little catalog, type it into Google, put their name if it doesn't have the word production music in it, and just add production music to it, okay? Name of the catalog, production music, Google search it. You'd be surprised how many of them have their own little website, or at least maybe you find like a LinkedIn account with the owner of that, with some sort of a way to reach out to them and submit music to them. Well, ta-da! There's your way to get into that Megatracks distribution channel if that's what you want to do. And this works for pretty much every single one, okay? I know this works because obviously it worked for me and it's worked for many of my students as well. I have students that have their music distributed with BMG, with Universal, with these major players. But they did it through one of these little avenues that I've been telling you guys to do. Or maybe if you've never watched some of my videos, you've never known that I've done it. That's why I'm really prioritizing this stuff and really telling you guys just how you can actually do this yourselves. So I guess the point of this entire very short video, it doesn't even have to be that long, is that you need to know, it's really more about I think it's like about building up your own confidence. I really think a lot of it comes down to that, because I remember that feeling when I was about to submit to some companies, even some bigger ones, and I got rejected by tons of them, right? None of this means, and I hope you guys are, I think you guys are smart enough to realize I'm not guaranteeing you guys getting accepted. Nobody can guarantee you the actions of another human being, right? Everybody can decide whether or not they want your music. Every library is going to decide whether or not they feel like you are a good fit, all that good stuff. But you do have the power and the ability to directly make your own partnerships, and you can essentially become your own entrepreneur, right? In a way, you can kind of set up your own shop and create your own direct relationships in this industry. And it doesn't take thousands and thousands of hours. It doesn't take tons and tons. You don't have to go get a PhD in researching these companies that do this kind of stuff. And that's some of the new content I'm going to be basically putting out here on YouTube for you guys, is how to find these companies, how to do some real quick down and dirty research to determine, are they right for you? What kind of clients are they serving? What's the quality of their music? Should you submit your music to them? And if you do, what quality should it be hitting? I mean, this is basically all the stuff that I've been doing in Sync Edge now for, I don't know, 4 years, 5 years, however long I've had that service going. That's exactly what I'm giving you guys in Sync Edge, is that immediate access to that kind of information, that knowledge, that contact information, and my analysis for who is this library, who are they primarily serving, what kind of music would really do well with them, what music do you want to maybe stay away from. So that's basically what I've been doing on there. But I do want to put a lot more of that content out here just for free on YouTube, because it's very clear to me now that a lot of you guys do not know that that is accessible for you. That's literally about an afternoon's worth of work that you can go directly to these companies. So if there's one thing that I can be, resting my head on my bed at night and feeling good about, is if you guys at the end of watching a couple of these videos change your mind and think, you know what? I think maybe I can go directly to these companies. Maybe it's not as out of my reach as I thought it was. It's not as like kind of a good old boy network where you have to be connected or whatever. Sure, there's going to be parts of the industry that have that sort of, clickiness to it. Every industry is going to have that, but it's not as clicky as you might think it is. It is very open. There's a lot of amazing open opportunities and a lot of very talented, amazing library owners, catalog owners. They've got doors wide open, guys. They got an email address. They got a submission form right on their website. They want to hear your music. They want to partner with you. They want to work with people that are serious about this business. And again, I will be bringing them on my channel in the future so you guys can hear for yourselves, not just me blabbing off, for hours and hours about this, but hear from library owners themselves who do accept unsolicited music from people they've never met before, how that process works, why they accept music from people that never, and not, the biggest thing you should take away from this video, it's not only that they do accept unsolicited music, they must accept unsolicited music, okay? Their business model depends on them continuously on a regular basis looking for new talent, looking for fresh talent. Why? Well, because some producers leave, they bail out, they get busy, they get distracted, they get the shiny object syndrome, and they're off from sync licensing. They're not getting their money fast enough, so they go. So if a library owner was depending on like a handful of guys to make all the music for them and those guys are gone, they're screwed because their clients are constantly needing more music, or their sub-publishers or their distributors. You got to keep relevant in the world. You can't just do your one job 1 year and then just sit back for 5 years and think, well, I'm in sync licensing. I've got my 10 albums out there, right? It's a constant, it's like going to the gym. You're never done. You have to just keep pushing out new content. And that means they need to keep accepting new music from people they never met before. It doesn't mean you get accepted guaranteed. It doesn't mean they have to accept the music. You guys get that? But their eyes are open, their ears are open, and they are listening. I know that I think some conflation happens in our world. So, the music label thing or the record label thing, where we know they're not taking music from just anybody, of course. They need to have some trusted ears, give them something before they give you the time of day. And of course, music supervisors, we all know they get hundreds of submissions a day. They're not usually taking unsolicited music from people they don't know. It's too risky. They don't know if it's clear. They don't know if it's copyrighted, cleared. There's just too many problems with that. But I think because of both of those sitting right here on either side of us, we think that music libraries are also the same, that they're not accepting any unsolicited music because it's kind of a protected little force field industry that people can't get into with an email. But you can, and that music library situation is very different from these two. This business model of a music library is designed to have an open door policy. For the vast majority, there are definitely going to be exceptions to that rule, and we can talk about some of those libraries. But for the vast majority of like high quality libraries that are doing this, they're going to need new music from people they've never met before, and that's just part of doing business as a music library. Okay, second rant over on this topic, but more videos are definitely coming your way on this.